This is an evening which everybody who is here will remember for a very long time. It's a significant moment for Adelaide and for South Australia. John, thank you very much for the welcome to your country. In NAIDOC week, it is worth saying again, this is Kaurna land, and it always was and it always will be Kaurna land. And I know that everybody in this gathering tonight recognises the important relationship that the Kaurna people have with this country. Distinguished guests all, I recognise particularly His Excellency, the Honourable Hugh van der Ley, Governor of South Australia, and His Excellency Ambassador Schlosser. Thank you so much. The Holocaust Museum and Steiner Education Centre has been born of the efforts of so many South Australians and so many stakeholders in this community that it is impossible in the brief time we have tonight to recognise all of them. But it is born of partnerships, and I want to reflect a little on that, and in particular the importance of the development of this museum for the education of our young people here in South Australia. Andrew Steiner, and particularly Andrew Steiner, but Andrew Steiner and others have for decades been talking to our young people about the Holocaust. And of course the germ of an idea for this museum, has to be mentioned, starts with Andrew, but it has been the contribution of so many people, not just in South Australia's Jewish community, but particularly in South Australia's Jewish community, that has helped us reach this point. The South Australian Government, through the Department for Education and the History Trust of South Australia, has been honoured to have the opportunity to contribute $100,000 over the last 2.5 years to help us reach this point. The philanthropists and the board who have given their money and their time, the experts, including curators from the History Trusts, who have lent their expertise to ensuring that the physical situation that we now have in this museum is of such appropriate, high quality, high caliber level that anybody entering the museum will not be able to be helped but be touched by the stories that the displays tell, has been significant. The Catholic Church, whose contribution of the land, of the building within which the museum sits, has been so important for the enablement of the development over the last years of the displays. All of these groups, their work has been significant, and I tell you what, it has just begun. What this museum means for our community and for our young people in South Australia is quite profound. The Governor said earlier that the Holocaust is a stain on the world. Andrew Steiner said that a remembrance of the Holocaust is the responsibility of us all. The responsibility to remember, as the Ambassador said, that the Holocaust came about in a democratic nation. It came about, as evil tends to, because a community was sold on the idea that one group of humans were less than human. They were convinced of this. And the idea, the germ of an idea that any human is less in their humanity than the broad total group cannot be allowed to stand. The remembrance of a Holocaust is a totemic moment for every community in the world to remember that we are all in our humanity the children of God. And we have a duty to our young people in particular to ensure that they are given the opportunity to learn about this moment in our world's history on which so much shame rests. The Holocaust is not the only genocide that has been perpetrated on a minority group in history, but it remains unique in its industrial, brutal scale by a government against a people. It is extraordinary, the Jewish people's singular persecution throughout not just the 20th century and the Holocaust, but over hundreds and thousands of years in so many environments. It is extraordinary, as the Governor alluded, that there remain people in this world today, there remain governments in this world today, there remain people in this country, unfortunately, who deny the existence of the historical event of the Holocaust. And there are others who would seek to downplay its significance in our community. The South Australian Government has contributed some funding, but our most significant role is yet to come as we work with the Holocaust Museum and the Steiner Education Centre and our schools and the Catholic education sector and the independent schools in South Australia to facilitate the teaching of intercultural understanding, the teaching of ethics, which so underlie the Australian curriculum, but we use this centre to underlie the teaching of that for our young people in South Australia to come. I tell you, I thought that the work that had been done when I visited the Holocaust Museum a few months ago had been significant, and the work done by Kathy Bokic and her team was amazing, and it is. And when we visited, we're pretty proud of where the centre had come to. But when Josh Frydenberg announced a further $2.5 million, and I know that he's in James Stevens' office in Parliament House tonight, watching this event on a live stream, that is going to take the physical look of the centre right to that next level and enable the telling of the stories of our Holocaust survivors here in South Australia to be told that much better in the years ahead, to members of our community, to students in our schools. I thank them for their work and their contribution. The work that we have to do in our schools is profound. As we get the Australian curriculum, this is an asset to our teachers and to our principals across South Australia to enable them to do their work in teaching history and social services, all the other aspects of the Australian curriculum, enables them to help our children become more ethical, to have a better intercultural understanding, and enables them to understand the history of the Holocaust. Andrew Steiner said it is all of our responsibility to remember the Holocaust. It is our responsibility to the 6 million who perished. It is our responsibility to the millions more, such as Andrew and the other survivors who survived. It is our responsibility to the Jewish community who still suffer persecution. It is our responsibility to all communities who suffer persecution. And it is our duty to help our young people, the next generation, to live better and more peaceful lives in the years ahead. Thank you so much for being a part of it.